Welcome everybody to another Slavic Languages Mutual Intelligibility Challenge. My name is Norbert, and in this episode we are going to test mutual intelligibility between Ukrainian and Slovak. Before we start the language challenges, let's meet the guests of today's show.
Вітаю, мене звати Єгор, мені 19, наразі навчаюсь за кордоном. В мене є величезний потяг до іноземних мов, однак, на жаль, це саме романські мови, а в слов'янських немає багато досвіду. Тому чекаю з нетерпінням цього відеоролику.
Ahojte, ja som Rony, som zo Slovenska, budem dnes rozprávať slovensky a taktiež hovorím trochu česky, rusky a nemecky.
Great, welcome to the show. Let's dive into today's language challenges. Each challenge revolves around guessing words from clues given in a foreign language you haven't studied before. Remember, throughout these challenges, you both can only communicate in your native languages. This way, we will gauge the effectiveness of mutual intelligibility between Slovak and Ukrainian. We will start off with the Ukrainian word. Let's go.
Отже, перше слово – це тип будівлі, у якій мешкає багато студентів. Часто вони мають загальну вбиральню та їдальню. Інколи вони мусять мешкати з сусідами по кімнаті. Більш-менш зрозуміло? Питання.
Rozumel som, že sa jedná o študentov.
Так.
A ak som dobre pochopil, tak niečo zdieľajú so svojimi susedmi alebo s kolegami?
Так, але то йде мова саме про будівлю, де вони мешкають.
Dobre, teraz nie som istý, že som rozumel, ale spýtam sa, jedná sa o jedlo alebo o budovu? Miesto, kde bývajú? Áno, dobre, čiže je to budova, v ktorej bývajú študenti.
Tak, same tak.
A môže byť študent aj sám, alebo tam môže byť viac študentov v tej budove?
Так, саме з сусідами по кімнаті, зазвичай.
A oni v tej budove sa učia, alebo v tej budove spia?
Вони там мешкають, сплять, так, ночують.
Dobre. A sú to študenti, ktorí bývajú niekde v inom meste zvyčajne a do tohto mesta chodia študovať?
Ні, тобто вони там мешкають, але навчатися в інше місце. Це не те саме місце. Та будова, де вони саме сплять.
Dobre. Ja si myslím, že viem, čo to je. Dúfam, že teraz som práv.
Гаразд, тоді зараз запишемо.
Napíšem, čo si myslím a ty napíšeš, čo si myslíš tiež, áno? Dobre, ja si myslím, že je to internát. To je budova, v ktorej bývajú študenti, ktorí sú väčšinou z iného mesta, prídu do toho mesta, kde študujú a tam musia prespať, bývať a odtiaľ chodia do školy, ktorá je v tom istom meste.
Ага, я гадаю, ти зрозумів все правильно, тому що я написав гуртожиток.
So, it's correct.
Yeah, awesome.
Rony, what is internat in English?
Wow, the house for students, student house, I'm not sure if that's the correct translation, but yeah, it's where the students live when they're living in another city and they come to a school that's in a particular city, so they don't need to commute every day. They would be living in that particular building, multiple students.
So at first sight to me, it seems that this is the correct word. However, at least in Polish, we do distinguish whether this place is for high school students or university students. We have two different words depending on the type of students that we are talking about. So, Yehor, what about your word that you picked?
So I was thinking more of like students that go to university, because we also do have two words. One is the one I said, гуртожиток, for university students, and the other one is for also internat, but it's more for high school students, like for boarding schools.
Yes, and Rony, do you distinguish?
The same word for high school students and university students. It's internat and it's for both groups.
Awesome.
Oh, that's good. So actually in Polish we also have the word internat, but that refers to a hostel for high schoolers, people who go to high school. For students that study at university, there is another word which is academic or dom studencki, basically.
We also have a word that's called studentské domovy, which is dom studentsky literally, and that's used for university students, but that's internat is used for both.
That's good. So you got the first one right. That's great. So we're going to move on to the Slovak word now. And you, Yehor, are going to try to understand Slovak.
Okay. Slovo, ktoré hľadáme, je jedlo. Pripravuje sa varením v hrncoch a zvyčajne sa podáva v tanieroch. Naberá sa naberačkou a môže sa do nej pridávať rezance, ryža, krutóny, prípadne cestoviny. V obchodoch je možné kúpiť aj instantnú verziu. Je to tekuté jedlo a je sa lyžicou.
Гаразд. Отже, це їжа, яку їдять ложкою. І інколи її можна приготувати дуже швидко.
Toto som nerozumel.
Можна приготувати швидко.
Áno.
Так. Чи вона пов'язана якимось чином з італійською кухнею?
Môže byť, ale používa sa aj v našej slovanskej kuchyni veľmi často.
Чи вона може бути пов'язана з якимось підвидом азійської кухні?
Áno aj. A opäť používa sa aj v slovanskej kuchyni, vo vašej je veľmi slávna.
Гаразд. Я чомусь... Гаразд, я спробую вгадати. Гаразд, я гадаю, це локшина, тому що є локшина швидкого приготування. І мені здавалось через те, що це швидкого приготування, і вона пов'язана з азійською кухнею, то це як локшина. Однак, можливо, я помилявся.
I don't think it's correct. How does it translate into English, Yehor?
Like noodles.
Noodles, yes. So this is not correct. So now, Rony, I would like you to show the correct word to Yehor. Say it out loud and let's see if that's going to ring any bells.
Okay, so in Slovak it's called polievka.
Okay, it sounds like something very liquid, like a soup.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct. That's correct. So this is soup.
Awesome.
Yeah, and if I'm correct, in Ukrainian it's also called soup, right?
Yeah, we call it soup.
Yeah.
So,
And you were close because you said the ingredient or the filling of the soup, that's noodles, right? I've mentioned actually the word that you've used, the noodle. It's said rezance in our language, but it's just what you put into the soup. Yes.
fair. I mean, but it is a very interesting word. We have podlevka. Not podlevka, we have polivka. But it's also something like it's gravy in English.
Interesting.
And what about the Ukrainian word bouillon? Like, is there any difference between soup and bouillon?
I think bouillon it's rarely used, but it's even more liquidy, and like I would usually say it for something that does not have many ingredients. Just like let's say something very poor, something that just has like one carrot or something. Personally, I would use it for something that's like not very rich on something.
Mm-hmm. Maybe a base for
I
the
can
soup.
say we have a word that's called bouillon, and that's when you have the cube that you put into water and it turns into like an ingredient for a soup.
Exactly. That for us, that would be the same. And I just thought of another example. For example, when you do the chicken, you cook the chicken and you take out the chicken, so it's just the water. We call it bouillon as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing there. It's just like...
Yes, in Polish it would be zupa. Zupa.
Similar to soup and very obvious German.
Yeah, it's also very similar to like English and Germanic languages.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so that was interesting. So let's move on to the Ukrainian word now.
Гаразд. Отже, друге слово. Це дуже палке почуття, що відчувають дві людини одна до одної, і зазвичай його набувають під час тривалих відносин. Гаразд, а питання якісь?
Zachytil som, že dve osoby to hovoria jedna druhej.
Є дві особи, так, є дві особи.
A jedna z nich hovorí niečo druhej.
Ні, вони не говорять нічого одна одній. Ну, це не про це. Тобто, зараз це про почуття. Можу дати другу підказку?
Poprosím.
Отже, люди, що відчувають це відчуття одне до одного протягом тривалого часу, зазвичай одружуються і інколи навіть кажуть, що сенс життя в пошуку цього почуття.
To slovo počutie má veľmi...
Так, дуже велике значення.
U nás počuť znamená, že niečo počuješ do ucha. A neviem, či to isté je to počutie.
Не зовсім. Це не чути, це більше як відчути. Чути як на дотик. Або як
почуття. Dobre, rozumiem.
Tak.
Rozumiem. Dobre. Dve osoby, jedna druhej a niečo cítia. Dobre.
Так, одна до одної.
Áno.
Зазвичай його набувають під час відносин.
Dobre, to je zaujímavé. Nabúvajú. Má to niečo s topánkami, obuvou na nohy?
Ні. Гаразд, давай третю підказку.
Добре.
Зазвичай це почуття поєднують з червоним кольором та з формою серця.
Dobre. Dve osoby cítia niečo voči sebe navzájom a je to pozitívne?
Так, це дуже позитивне почуття.
A je to pozitívne.
Так.
Myslím si, že viem. Dobre, napíšem svoj tip.
Гаразд.
Môžem?
Ходімо.
Myslím si, že je to láska.
Yes, that is correct. So láska means love in Slovak, right?
Yes.
And how is that going to be in Ukrainian, the word for love?
For us it's кохання.
Кохання. Mm-hmm.
We have another word, but кохання is like between two people, like in a relationship.
That's very interesting. So we're going to discuss that in a second. But I'm just going to give the Polish word for the records. It's miłość. Miłość is the word that we use for any kind of love. So it could be in a relationship, but it also could be among the family or friends and so on. That's miłość. And it's interesting that the word laska, in Polish, we have a word for that. It's a false friend. We have the word łaska, and that means something else. It means grace in a religious sense, or in a more secular sense, it means mercy. So you can show someone łaska, which means to show someone mercy, for example. Yes, so I'm very curious now, like, how do you say mercy in Slovak then?
In Slovak we say mercy ako milosť.
Oh, so the other way around.
And we also have the word milovať, which means to love someone.
Milovať, that's the verb, basically.
Yes.
That's
Or you could say milovanie, but that's that's more physical act of two people that love each other.
And in Polish, the word miłować, we also could use that as to mean to love, but it's more, again, it's more a religious sense. But when we talk about humans, they kochać, which is closer to the Ukrainian word for love. So what kind of verbs do you use, Yehor, in Ukrainian to express the act of loving?
I did know about like the Polish close friend of kochanie, so that I was aware of. And then for love, we can have also so kochanie, then любов. If like any kind of love, like you can love, like, I don't know, a country, a food, anything, you would say любов. And then for mercy, I think we also say like милість, or like we have a verb помилуй, like помилуй мене. So it's very similar to Slovak, I think, like in milosť. So very similar there. And we have a word láska, but it means more like tenderness. Like laskavý, like laskavý as an adjective would be like very like nice, tender, like kind of warm, like as a person, very good person.
We have that too. Yes, laskavý means a nice person, tender person.
We also have łaskawy, which means sort of merciful, but also in a kind way, a person that is kind. It has that double meaning. Interesting. So we do have the word kochanie as an endearing way of addressing someone you love in a relationship, especially like darling or my love or honey.
I don't think we normally would say it, but I've heard a lot about like, especially in Polish, serious, a lot of people say kochanie to address someone. So it's really cool. I think it's really cool. And we would more normally say something like a sun, like soneczko, or something like that.
Great. So that was very interesting. Just before we move on, the question about the Slovak language. Do you actually distinguish different kinds of love, and do you reflect that in your vocabulary?
We have several words, like milovať is the strongest feeling of love between two people, and there's ľúbiť, which means to like or to love, and that can also be used for food and stuff like that. And there's also mám rád, mať rád, and that's literally to like something like food or something else, but you can also use it for a person, mám ťa rád, but that's more in a friend zone kind of way than in a relationship kind of way.
But I was asking more about the nouns, like when we talk about the noun for love.
I would say there's just láska.
So same like in Polish. Just
we're heavy verb-ish. We have verb nouns, so that's how we do a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it differs from language to language. Like in Greek, I believe there is like 5 words for different kinds of love. And you need to kind of know which one you're talking about when you use that word. So that's interesting. Good, let's move on to the Slovak word now. Okay, are you ready? Let's go.
Takže druhé slovo je to predmet. Jedná sa o zbraň, ktorá sa používala prevažne v staroveku a stredoveku, zvyčajne v Európe a taktiež v Japonsku. V dnešnej dobe sa veľmi nepoužíva, ale často sa s ňou môžeme stretnúť vo filmoch alebo v knihách s fantazijným námetom. Jej časťami sú čepeľ, záštita, rukoveď a hlavica a skladuje sa v pošve. Môže sa ňou sekať, prípadne bodať. Tradične sa vyrábal pomocou tavenia z kovu, ako je bronz, železo alebo оцель.
Гаразд, мені здається, цього разу це дуже зрозуміло. Мені здається, прям маю перед очами цей предмет. Однак маю питання, чи це використовувалося в рицарстві?
Áno.
Гаразд. Тоді я, власне, не маю більше питань. Я спробую вгадати.
Myslím si, že vieš, čo to je, takže môžeme ísť na to.
Мені здається так. Тому я спробую. Меч.
Áno.
So that is correct. This is meč, which means sword in English. And how do you say that in Slovak?
You say it meč.
Meč. And in Polish we say miecz. We call it miecz. Which is interesting. Apparently, it's an old Slavic word that is present in a lot of Slavic languages. It survived basically because it's been such an important tool over so many centuries that the word survived. But what gave it away to you, Yehor? Were there any words, any vocabulary that kind of stand out?
Yeah.
Description.
So I think you said something similar to rokoyet. So that was very, very indicative that you should hold it. And we also have like rokoyet. We also say rokoyet. So for example, part of that sword. I think you also mentioned like the Middle Ages and the early ages. So that was also like indicative of those times and what was symbolical then. And you said it's used also with the shield. No? Oh, I thought you did.
Yeah, shield is štít. To slovo som that word I didn't use.
I thought you said sheath for some reason, and
I did say sheath, which means where you put the sword inside. Sorry, did you mean sheath or shield?
Like shield. I thought you.
No. I said sheath, where you put the sword when you're not wielding it.
The th in English.
Very similar words in Slovak.
Yes. Well, no, I don't know. How do you say it? How do you say shield in Ukrainian?
Shchit.
Oh, I know what you mean. I said záštita, and that's the guard on the sword that protects your hand.
Okay, that would be that.
Yes, záštita, because that's very close. Because štít is the man on your hand, and záštita it's the same base of the word, but that's just to protect your hand from enemy sword. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, you were very close to the actual.
I got it wrong, but it helped.
Absolutely. You got it wrong, but you got it right.
Yes, and I want to ask you guys about Ukrainian and Slovak names, because in Poland we have this very common name Mieczysław, which comes from miecz. Do you have a name like that in Slovak or Ukrainian?
We have two versions. We have Meczeslav and Myacheslav. It depends whether you're like on the region you're from in Ukraine, but there's Meczeslav and Myacheslav.
We do not have a first name regarding to swords, but we do have a surname called Mechiar, and that means sword maker.
Aha. So it survived in the form of a last name, but not the first name. Mm-hmm. Interesting. So, guys, how did it go? What are your impressions? Did the experiment go as expected? Rony, you go first.
Well, it definitely wasn't easy. On the other hand, Yehor is very good at giving hints, and I would say that he understood me better, at least that's my impression, because he was able to give me then some additional hints if I didn't catch up. So, yeah. But yeah, there are definitely some similarities that we get, and as the time went on, we could understand each other better, I think.
Mm-hmm. And Yehor, what about you? What do you think?
I definitely agree that the more we spoke, the more we were starting to understand each other. That was definitely an effect, even though it wasn't a long time. And it wasn't too difficult, but it also wasn't too easy in the beginning. So I think we both understood each other actually very, very, very well. So I was quite impressed with how we were kind of able to communicate. So yeah, that was very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was very interesting. It was quite easy for me, but maybe I've got like so much exposure so far that sometimes I feel like those challenges might be too easy for everybody. Some people say Slovak is a particular language because it has like so many features from Western Slavic languages and some features from the Eastern Slavic languages. It's a good mix of all the features and the vocabulary. Is that true, Rony? Do you feel like you speaking Slovak helps you understand other Slavic languages?
It's hard to tell because I also speak Czech. That definitely helps. I would say there's closer overlap with Polish and Czech in some words. And then I also speak a little Russian, which I kind of expected to help me with Ukrainian, but that wasn't exactly the truth. Although whenever Yehor showed his word, then that actually clicked with Russian. But some of the words that he used, I was not familiar with. But again, yes, Slovak is a word mix. Especially, I'm Eastern Slovak, so I also speak some dialects, and those dialects are closer to Ukrainian. Because there's like the Russinian and stuff like that that overlaps between Ukraine and Slovak borders. So a little bit, yeah, definitely. But if you went with Western Slovak, like around Bratislava, then I would say, struggle more with Eastern Slavic languages.